In order to prepare for our swipe painting, we need to prepare the paints. Now these are Master's Touch acrylics that I bought at Hobby Lobby. This one is yellow medium, this one is called pale blue, and this one is called rouge. The problem is they are a little bit too thick to begin with, so we're going to dilute them down in Gatorade bottles. I can find them everywhere in the trash. I'm going to turn on my balance, put my bottle on the balance and hit tare, and then add 1 part paint. To that, I'm going to add 3 parts of this material called Floetrol, which you can get at Menards or Home Depot. It's about $15 a gallon. We're going to add 3 parts of Floetrol to 1 part paint. The next one will be pale blue. We tare our bottle again, and we put 1 part paint and 3 parts Floetrol into it. And then finally, we'll do it also for the rouge or the magenta. Alright, once we have our materials put together, we will just simply cap the bottles and shake, shake, shake. Be sure to shake very well so it is dispersed evenly. At this point, we can move to our class sets, and each lab station will get a Dixie cup of each one of the paints. If you put about 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch in the bottom of the Dixie cup, that should be enough for 2 students, double it for 4. To this, we're going to add silicone oil. This is called Cell Magic, and you can get it at Hobby Lobby. If you have silicone oil in your chemistry stockroom, that will work just as well. Put about 2 drops, 3 drops in each Dixie cup, and then I like using these wooden stir rods, they're coffee stirrers, and blend it up so that it's nice and even. Now it actually comes time to paint. Now you have the 3 complementary colors, and we're going to use it on these boards that I also got at Hobby Lobby. You want to put a puddle of paint about the size of a quarter of each one of the paints on the board. The whole point is eventually we're going to blend them together. And so start by putting about a quarter size amount of paint in each corner or nearby, but do not pour paint on top of paint at this step. Add a little paint in these big wide swipes. It will help for the art in the end. Do this with all of your paints. The objective is you want the paints kind of close to each other so you can blend them together and see what happens when you mix these paints. At this point, you really are not as concerned about overlapping the colors, but you just like an even spread of paint across your canvas. Eventually, we're going to pull this paint off the canvas, so try having as much paint. Here you see I have stir sticks, and to be honest, you can just rip them in half because they are disposable. And what you want to do is find a place where 2 colors match and then blend them together and observe what color do you see when you do this. This will go in your data table. So here we found magenta and yellow. Person on the right is blending blue and magenta. The person on the left is blending magenta and yellow. And then what's interesting is what happens when you blend all three colors together. Once you've completed the blending and observing section of the lab, you might as well use all the paint. We cannot reuse it. So put paint back on your canvases, getting ready to do art. Now this technique is called swipe painting, and you use paper towels, not industrial paper towels from like your kitchen. Bounty works well. And we're going to rip them, but what we're looking at is for the factory edge, a nice clean edge. And at this point, we are going to dip it in one of the colors of paint and allow it to soak into the paper towel. And then you'll notice that I'm going to drag it across the surface at a very low angle so that it mixes and blends with the paints as it goes by. I'm kind of waving left and right to give it some visual interest, but run it all the way to the end of your canvas. Once you're done with the paper towel, you can fold it over so the paint doesn't get back on your hands, and take a brand new paper towel, find a new part of paint, and pull it towards one of the edges. You can tilt the board and let the paints kind of run. You get this drip effect before you end up swiping. That kind of blends things together a little bit and gives you some visual interest. Once you're all done, you can take a drinking straw, and if you have big puddles of paint, you can blow that paint around and it gives you an interesting effect. Once again, this is kind of messy. If you blow too hard, you can splatter paint away from yourself. Be careful of your lab partner. When you're all done, you will have examples of color mixed art. And what's really cool is you can start to pay attention to where two colors blended. And because we added oil to the picture, or the paint, you get these things called cells, which are circles of one paint that can be seen through the next.